Hey everyone, welcome. We have a special episode of The Vault that we are dropping today. It's a 2025 recap, so let's get into it.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
Welcome to The Vault, a Montana-based business podcast where we highlight the people and ideas driving our region forward. I'm your host, Marcel Bruschi.
You're listening to The Vault.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode of The Vault. It's our last episode of 2025 and a bonus episode this last week of December. And it's just a 2025 recap. We talked to so many cool entrepreneurs, community leaders, business owners from not only Yellowstone County, but some from across the state of Montana that had a lot of really, really cool things to share. And we hope that you enjoyed our 2025 season as much as we did. And today I just wanted to talk about some themes that really stuck out to me throughout this year and some favorite moments from the 2025 year. One of those being the Vault on the Road and something that we'll talk about in a little bit, but something that was really fun to kick off this fall. So let's just get into it. The first theme that really stuck out to me in this 2025 Vault season was around hospitality and customer service. So we heard a lot from our guests, whether they're business owners, maybe they're entrepreneurs or small business owners, but a lot of them talked about how they show up for their guests, their clients, their customers, and how that really shapes everything that they do within their organization or where they're at in their life. A couple guests just that really, really stuck out to me in this theme. The first was Mike Nelson, the owner of the fabulous Northern Hotel in beautiful downtown Billings. Such a great story, that one. Specifically what him and his family did to really revitalize the Northern Hotel. And now we just all know it as a great downtown staple of Billings. But Mike in his episode, he dove into his 3 legs of hospitality that they practice and live out daily and at the Northern as the team. And that was connect, empathize, and respect. And he dove into each of these 3 things and how they really guide the guest experience and the way his team treats people that are coming into the Northern, no matter if they're a guest or maybe they're just here for a conference or eating at Bernie's or the 10. He really talked about what those 3 things mean to him, why they matter, and really how his team lives out those values on a daily basis at the Northern. So that's a great episode. You can find all of these on our website, but something that really stuck out to me as we talk about the theme of hospitality. The next one was a favorite of mine just because I absolutely love Walkers. It's been a place that I've celebrated some big life milestones, whether it was graduating college, celebrating anniversaries, just celebrating. It's just a place that it's like my go-to, and that's Walkers. And so we had Nick Steen on, who's such a great guy and doing such cool things, owner of Walkers on. And he talked about the joy and fulfillment he really finds in doing what he loves and reminding us that, and he said something that stuck out to me. He says, I'm overwhelmed every day with joy and with love and passion and understanding that you can do something you love to do. Don't let anyone ever tell you you can't. And he just dives into really like how that statement right there, how he got to that and how his, career path led him to where he's at today with Walkers and the exciting moments and the hard moments along the way. He also shared his philosophy on leadership. And I think that for what he's doing, you feel this like anytime you're at Walkers, whether you're just there for a drink, meeting a friend, or you're there for dinner or celebrating something. But he says, no one works for me, they work with me. And I think you really feel that culture when you're at Walkers. They've got such a fun crew, and you just always feel taken care of when you're there. So just as we're talking about hospitality and customer service. The next one, kind of taking a hospitality and customer service from a retail perspective, was Linda Brooks, the owner of Something Chic. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you know I'm like obsessed with Something Chic. I feel like I'm like one of her biggest fans. I literally am to the point where so much of my stuff is from Something Chic, and I just love that because she has such a cool story, and she talks about really building that business from literally nothing and the ground up, and all of the hustling she did to really over years, like 3+ years, to raise funds to be able to open this, now what I consider to be a staple boutique in downtown Billings. But she, if you follow her on Instagram and Facebook, really talking about Instagram, but she just does such a great job connecting with her ideal client base. And she does that a lot through different events she cultivates and does at Something Chic, just offering different things like her VIP program, other things that she does. But she shares her strategies for marketing, building community, and creating a brand that resonates, which you really see her do literally every single day. Even on Sundays, she's posting to either her personal or her work account. Just even like behind the scenes, right? Because she owns this beautiful boutique, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we don't see all of the time that business owners are doing. And she shares a little bit of a glimpse into that. She also takes her customers along with her through social media when she's at market. So she'll be posting things and doing live polls on her Instagram story about like, do you like this jacket or this jacket? And just to kind of gauge and keep her customers really engaged, which I think just helps myself specifically, but others as well, as we are excited about the next season because we've already maybe seen a glimpse into what that looks like. Something else she really talked about, and I found this to be so interesting, was she emphasized the importance of research and really knowing your customer, your product, and your market. And I think Linda does such a great job at that, really knowing her customer, what they want, what we want, and knowing her market and who to target, maybe who isn't. And I think she does a great job of that. The last guest that I'm going to highlight in the section of customer service and hospitality is Judy Powers. Her and her husband own the Montana Fly Fishing Lodge, which is west of Billings. I haven't been out there yet, but just how she talked about it, I'm not even a fly fishing person, but I'm like, maybe I should be because her experience sounds really amazing of what her and her husband have created. And she talked a lot about leadership, culture, and what it means to show up as a whole person at work. And I think that really impacts how we practice customer service on a daily basis, no matter what we're doing. What is our hospitality like? And no matter what industry that we're in. And she shared a quote that I wanted to reshare with all of you, which is, vulnerability is so important in a leader. If people don't feel like they can truly connect to who you are and what your why is, they're not going to work as hard or be as giving of their time and talents to someone that doesn't give those time and talents back to them. I feel like that's a really big statement and so impactful. And Judy talked all about that on her episode. She started her career in healthcare and then transitioned into hospitality, or more traditionally of what we think of as a hospitality type industry, where she hosts people from all over the world at their fly fishing lodge for different experiences, whether that is fly fishing, different day excursion, hikes, things like that. And just really what they do to go above and beyond for those customers that are coming in and spending time with them at their lodge. But also knowing that they're more seasonal as a company and they're a small team. And really, I think that vulnerability is so important, no matter how large your company is, but really when it's small, because you're very tight knit when there's not a lot of you. So, and you more often than not wear a lot of hats in those smaller organizations. So just a really insightful episode. And I think these themes show that hospitality is bigger than an industry. It's leadership, culture, and how you treat people in any role that they're in. So I think that was like a really big theme for me as we looked at our 2025 themes. The next big theme that stood out to me for 2025 and the guests we've had on was storytelling and how we tell our stories. It was a big thread and a big theme that we heard, and how people talk about their work, their place, and their why. Some of those guests to highlight from some of our episodes from 2025. The first one for me was Blythe with Bigger Fish PR. She is dynamite and does such cool things and really flies under the radar and by word of mouth, which tells you like how good she is. And she's so humble. And it was so fun to have her on because we've had some of her clients on, but she goes back with like Nick Steen and their friends, and they know each other. And that's how she really got connected into the vault. So just a cool full circle moment for me in that way. But she talks about the power of hospitality in public relations and the importance of building authentic relationships and the importance of timing and consistency when it comes to opportunities that come your way. She has such a unique and cool background, from working for a sports team out in Philly to working in wine country in California and lots of things in between. But now she's based in Bozeman, but has clients not only in Bozeman, across the state of Montana, but also across the country. She is doing really, really cool things. And some of those clients that we know in Montana would be Lazy K Bar Whiskey, the Armory in Bozeman, and Dave's Hot Chicken. But what she focuses on is bringing those stories to life of these companies across the state of Montana and beyond. And I think something that stood out to me just as with having her on and getting to know her is that at the heart of it all, she believes Montana's greatest story is its people. And that lasting brand impact comes from experiences that feel real, connected, and unforgettable. So for me, that statement she talks a lot about in her episode is Montana's greatest story is its people. I couldn't agree more with that. And I think if you ask anyone why they live in Montana or why they live in whatever town, city they live in Montana, and they always say the people. And I just think that was so great to hear from Blythe and a little bit of her perspective on that. The next guest that I wanted to highlight around the theme of storytelling and how we tell our stories is one a little near and dear to my heart. And you all know I'm from Ekalaka. I talk about it a lot. I'm proud of it. But was having Toby Tuke on and the story he's built around his family's legacy of the Tuke bucking horses. So fun fact on that, about 93% of all bucking horses today in national rodeo across the country are tied back to the Tuke bucking horse lineage out of Ekalaka, Montana, and southeastern Montana, which I'm not a huge rodeo person, but that statement and that fact is so cool to think about and mind-blowing. But why I really loved this episode and wanted to talk about it on this recap is because Toby talks a lot about family, small town roots, hard work, and carrying forward a legacy nearly a century in the making. He reflects on pride and where you come from, the lessons learned growing up in a small town, and the enduring spirit behind the Tuke bucking horse bloodline. Because something he said that stuck out to me too, was, if you ain't proud of it, why the hell are you doing it? And he's just really cultivated his family's story and legacy, working over years on a documentary that is now complete, but it's about the Tuke bucking horses. And he has people on there that are no longer with us. But he worked for years on that, not really getting a ton of outside funding, but really to help tell that Tuke bucking horse story, which is more than just about the horses, though they're amazing, but it's just a lot about grit, kind of building something from nothing and just preserving that history and legacy. So really a great episode as we're talking about the impacts of storytelling. Another one in regards to storytelling that does tell stories regularly for his job is Aaron Flint with Montana Talks. He talked about his journey through politics, how he got into broadcasting and really becoming a statewide voice and leader in the state of Montana and really representing Montana across the nation at different things he attends and goes to. He talked about his perspective on Billings and Montana as a media hub and why giving rural Montanans a voice matters now more than ever. And he does a really cool job of that with his radio show, Montana Talks, when he tells the story of Montanans from all across the state. So he was a really fun one to talk to. And, he talked a lot about, too, of broadcasting, what that looks like. And I think it was just an interesting episode, especially now where we're at with media, and social media and all of those things, and what he's really doing to help share those Montana stories through Montanans. So super cool episode. Another one in this idea and theme of storytelling was Christina Henderson, and she is the executive director of the Montana High Tech Business Alliance, and they cover the entire state of Montana. She did dive into like how that entity was created, being at the right place, kind of at the right time. So that story in itself was really cool, but she really dove into and talked a lot about her story growing up in where she grew up, which was in the Midwest, and her journey to Montana, and the connection and experiences that led her to lead this statewide high-tech business alliance, just through getting connected in the ways that she did. And she really leans into storytelling and connection. And she talks a lot about what that looks like for them with the Montana High Tech Alliance and how she is there to help share the stories of Montana's growing high tech sector and why place matters in entrepreneurship. And they're doing really great things, like I said, not just where she's based out of in Missoula, but across the state of Montana. We have a local chapter here in Billings, Yellowstone County, and we're happy to plug anyone into the Montana High Tech Business Alliance. If you listen to that episode and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to get involved, which you probably will think that. She's great and just doing a lot of cool things. We can help you get connected there. Another guest around storytelling is Avonlea with N. She's the founder, creator of Avonlea Care. She is such a powerhouse. I shared on my LinkedIn when her episode dropped. Like, I remember vividly hearing her speak for the first time in 2019 at an event at the Northern Hotel. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? She is dynamite. Like, I want to get to know her and learn more about what she does. And years later, she ended up becoming a Rock 31 member when she came back to Montana. And I did get to know her. And then finally I got to have her on the podcast. And her story is and she's so good at telling it and really emphasizing the importance of the why and the problem that she has set out to solve with Avonlea Care. She talks a lot about the challenges facing caregivers across the country and the importance of role models and beliefs along the way. She's definitely had, as any entrepreneur talks about, having struggles, hurdles along the way, and how role models and people that really believe in you and how that really can separate you from being successful to not, and just really talking about what caregivers face across the country and how they're building solutions to help with some of those problems. She talked about Avonlea Care Today and that it's really bridging the gap between health plans and caregiving for families and redefining what it means to innovate for caregivers in Montana and beyond. Her story is so impactful. She's so articulate and brilliant and just an entrepreneur that's really hustling every single day. And she talks about it. She talks about the struggles and the hardships of being an entrepreneur, raising funds. And she's out in New York a lot of the time doing just that to help fund those next stages of Avonlea Care and what that looks like. So just a dynamite person, story to tell, and just really interesting from an entrepreneurship perspective. The last guests I'm going to highlight in this theme of storytelling and how we tell our stories are two of my favorites, guys that I've gotten to know over the past couple of years, work with on different projects. This past year, they launched a company together called Loon Marketing Studio, and they just launched their own podcast this fall, The Bamboo Method, and that's Wade and Sam. They are Rock 31 members upstairs, but such a dynamic duo. You'll have to listen to the episode. Wade edits our podcast episodes too, so we work with him all of the time. We've had him on a couple times, but they met. I'll give you a little summary. So they have a cool how they met story, and I got to know them because they were, at the time, sharing a tiny office in our Rock 31 space in the basement. Like, it was so cozy though, like great lighting, ambiance. Like, you always felt like, wow, it's so nice down here. And by they were both doing their own thing. And by nature of proximity, they started having those conversations and coming together of what if we did something together. There's a lot of details behind that, but they then created Loon Marketing Studio. And now they're upstairs in a bigger office, just giving them a little more space. But oh my gosh, talk about storytelling, their own story, and then what they help companies do. So they're like dynamite individuals. But on that episode, they talk about their friendship, the importance of mentorship, and a shared passion for video and storytelling, and really what led them to build Loon. They talked about the importance of failure as a driver of growth and the role of mentors and loved ones that really guide us and help us along, not only in life, but in business and the things that we do in business as well. I think they both have two really amazing wives that they talk a lot about too, which I loved. And just like the importance of having those people, those really close people to you in your life that believe in you and that are there for you. Because I think something that really hit home with me in that episode was people will do wonders if you just believe in them. But they talk about Loon's two core pillars, really creating a compelling message and proper placement to help businesses connect with their audience in meaningful ways. We've worked with them on some different video projects over the years separately and now one together. But if you're a company and you're like looking at 2026 and adding something in of like, how do we really tell our story and how do we connect what we offer to our customers in a thoughtful way and clients, I would definitely suggest reaching out to Sam and Wade with Loon, because they take storytelling and make it really fun. And they really put your customer client as the hero of that story. And I think they bring in some cinematic and film elements to their approach, which I just love and think is so cool and not being done elsewhere in our region. So definitely check them out. So really this second theme of storytelling, I think we heard a lot from rodeo bloodlines to tech, caregiving, PR, and really just how storytelling shows up as a core tool for honoring legacy, building brands, and shaping Montana's future. The third theme, and it's really part of, and it's the core of the vault. So it's a theme, but also part of the vault that really stood out to us and me in this 2025 season was entrepreneurship and the business journey. A major thread that we heard all throughout this year was the real journey of building something from an idea and taking it to reality and building a community too, and what that looks like. And I think some of those episodes that really highlight building business and building community, we talked to so many great people, but ones that stood out to me were Molly and Friends out of Laurel and what they're doing with not only dog boarding, but dog daycare out in Laurel. Just such a cool company. And we had the owner and her daughter on, and her daughter, so young and brilliant. That girl was like just adding so many great little nuggets throughout the whole episode. And she's younger. I feel like she's, junior high or something. I think we might have been her first podcast, which was such an honor. But she and her mom are just really, they talk about listening to your customers and what they're asking for and trying to meet that demand for their clients. They started out thinking they would just be boarding, but really they saw a huge need for daycare for people's dogs. And so they adjusted and made that happen too. So that's such a fun episode. Speaking of Laurel, another fun one, and it aired in November, was The Front Porch with Cheryl and Robin. I want to be their new best friend. Those two are a hoot. They're so fun. They're so dynamic. And I just really loved the banter between the two of them. You can really tell that they care a lot about each other and they care a lot about cultivating and being a place for community to gather in Laurel. At The Front Porch, they have a retail side with a boutique. They also showcase and sell a lot of Montana-made things like jewelry to jams to other types of things made in Montana. And then they have a space that's not only for events that people can use, but they host different classes as well. But really, like, if you're just wanting to like be inspired and feel energized, listen to that episode, because those two will leave you feeling like, oh my gosh, wow, like energetic, I need to be driving to Laurel this minute, and just wanting to get involved with what they're doing and how they're building community and cultivating community in Laurel. Some other ones that were really fun to just chat with was one of Blythe's clients, Lazy K Bar Whiskey, and that story. And it's a spirit. So how do you build a brand like that and really cultivate it in Montana, and how they're doing that with Lazy K Bar Whiskey, and the importance of Lazy K Bar, which is a brand, like a cattle brand, and how they're using that in the story of their whiskey brand. Two other ones, both fitness-esque related, but just doing really cool things in different avenues, were Ryan with Granite Fitness and then Tyler Geiger. He's a Rock 31 member, but I really loved both of their episodes. They're both trainers in different areas. Tyler focuses on training guys, and he's got really a very specific audience, and Ryan trains females. They're both fitness type trainers, but in very different ways. But what I really like about them is they're very specific and niche for their clients, and they know exactly who their clients are and how to engage with them, meeting their clients where they're at. So really cool episodes if you're kind of like more into that fitness, entrepreneurship, niche client, just really cool guys doing really great things in their realms. And they talk a lot about the importance of consistency, which I love. Even if you're not into fitness and just are looking maybe for some unique business tips and ideas of, okay, we're coming into 2026. What could I maybe look at doing differently? Definitely listen to those episodes, because I think you'll pull some unique things from both of those guys. So I think really this theme of entrepreneurship and the business journey, we heard a lot about starting small, testing ideas, learning as you go. We talked a lot about the risk of entrepreneurship and small business ownership, what resilience means, and the creativity behind each business and their stories. And what I loved about this is how many of these stories are rooted in Montana communities and Montana values, which you really hear throughout, I think, all of our episodes all of the time. So we're coming up on my last theme that I wanted to talk about, and then we have one more section. So we're nearing the end, everyone. So the last theme, and it's again something that we want to bring into the vault and what we're doing at the vault, and is bringing in resources for businesses and the business community to highlight really what is available, different things that they can plug into. Just highlighting that ecosystem around entrepreneurship and small businesses and resources that help move ideas forward. So different, if that's funding, if that's different business advising and things like that. And some of those guests that we've had on to talk about these resources just have a lot of really cool things to offer. One of those being the Veterans Business Outreach Center, which we house here at Big Sky Economic Development. They serve a 3-state region, Montana, Utah, and Wyoming. And so if you're a veteran, military spouse, transitioning service member interested in entrepreneurship or business ownership, really listen to that episode, or you know someone that is, or you're kind of interested in what that could provide. They have really unique services for veteran owned. And for them, like I said, veteran is defined as traditional veteran, transitioning service member, and military spouse wanting to start their own business. So they have a lot of resources to help you get started and get going. And we have another one that aired too in December, just talking about some other really cool resources for veterans specifically. Speaking of veterans, we had the Veterans Navigation Network on, and these guys are great. They started in Billings and are kind of starting to expand across the state, but have a lot of different services for veterans and helping them get connected in different ways, not just business, but in other life type ways as well. As they're transitioning, they have different mentorship opportunities and different things. So just a really cool organization, and they always have so much going on. I definitely suggest listening to that and following them on social media just to keep up with them. They have so many great things going on and great resources. The next one is another one that we have here at Big Sky Economic Development. We hold a cooperative agreement with DoD, so the Department of Defense, and have subrecipients for this program across the state. And that program is the Montana Apex Accelerator. And really, they're trained professionals, advisors to help companies across the state of Montana We have a team here locally. Like I said, within our organization, we have a team and they lead it. Teresa leads it, and they help companies that are looking to maybe diversify their customer base through government contracting. And that could be at the local level, the state level, or the federal level. There's a lot of things to navigate if you are a company wanting to look at doing that. And we have free services. All of them are free for this specific program that help you navigate, where do you even start? How do you get into SAM, which is a database? And, what are these different things you have to do to even get set up in a system where you can bid on some of these contracts? So we have a professionally trained team that's constantly staying up to date on the latest and new things that the government's putting out so that they can best help these companies. And that could mean maybe you have done that in the past and you're like, I need to get re-engaged with that. This team and department, they're here at no matter what stage you're at in that relationship with those government contracts. So they're here to help you do that. The last guest to highlight in this resources for business section is the Montana Manufacturing Extension Center. We had Patty Fleming on, and he's the director of it for the entire state of Montana. And kind of like Apex, they have advisors across the state of Montana. But if you're a manufacturer, they are people you absolutely should be in contact with if you're not. Whether it's setting yourself up for lean manufacturing, doing other efficiency things, trainings, things like that. Patty and his team are here to help. And I really loved that episode and getting to know Patty a little bit more. He has such vast experience in manufacturing. He's worked in different facilities, not only across the U.S., but Europe as well. And then he came back home to Montana and gets to share that expertise with companies across the state of Montana. And he's just really passionate about helping Montana manufacturers be successful. So some great resources if you're a business looking maybe for some different types of resources or diversification of your customer base, some great people to reach out to that are helping solve real problems for businesses. So my last part on this 2025 recap was something that was really fun for me, probably my favorite part of 2025, which was launching the Vault on the road. So I bought some travel equipment for the podcast so that we could take it to some different conferences and things that we attend here locally, but also across the state of Montana on behalf of Big Sky Economic Development. And the first one we took it to was a Colstrip Energy Open in Colstrip, Montana. So we took it, we set it up, and the format of the Vault on the Road is to have shorter conversations with people attending the conference, whether they're business owners, owners, they represent certain industry, resource partners, things like that. Just really asking them industry-specific questions. So with the Energy Open, all of our questions were around energy. That was a lot of fun. We just set up in the Colstrip High School cafeteria. The auditorium was where the conference was going on, and we just had conversations about energy with Jim Atchison, who runs their economic development in that region, Molly Schwinn with Northwestern Energy, our board chair, Nick Pancho. He was there too. They're the architect on Colstrip's new business incubator building, which is really cool. They call it the BIC. We talked to a lot of people, Grid United, lots of other people that were there attending in the energy field. The next one, we took the Vault to Polson for the Montana Economic Developers Association, their fall conference. And that conference moves across the state. And it was really fun for me to sit down and have these conversations with fellow economic development professionals or economic development adjacent professionals and talk about economic development in Montana. That one was a lot of fun. We had the MEDA executive director, Allison. She's been on before talking about MEDA. We had the MEDA board president, Christy Cummins-Dawson. We had some of our partners from here in Billings, Amanda with Cushing Terrell, Sonia with Langless, just talking about different components of economic development, from practitioners to architects to engineers and other people that do what we do across the state, and just getting different perspectives on what's going on in their part of the state. Tara with Eastern Plains Economic Development, and really what we see collectively as we move forward in economic development in the state of Montana. So that one was a lot of fun. And the last one that we took on the road for this year, like I said, we launched it in the fall, was we went to the Montana World Affairs Council EconoQuest event. And EconoQuest, those episodes have aired. And Nikki, so you've maybe learned a little bit more about the Montana World Affairs Council through those episodes. But we took it on the road to Montana State University in Bozeman to talk with business partners and students that were there attending EconoQuest. And if you're curious about EconoQuest, definitely listen to Nikki's episode. She dives into it. And then the EconoQuest episode. But it was really fun to talk with, we talked to some students, different partners from MSU, Montana ambassadors, a teacher from Helena, but really just to talk about what that conference does and its impact on students across the state of Montana. That conference is for students, from high school students across the state of Montana. So that one was really fun. Really enjoyed that, and just highlighting and hearing different people's perspectives and, asking them on the podcast was a lot of fun. So like I said, those are short micro conversations that meet people where they are. And I look forward to, what that looks like in the future for the Vault on the road. So 2025 recap, we did it in less than an hour. Can you believe it? So cool. But really just such a fun year. So many great people that we've had on. I think so many cool things are going on in Billings, Yellowstone County, the state of Montana. And we're just so honored to get to be a tiny part of that and get to share some of those stories here on the Vault. And I just want to say thank you to all of you that listen, our guests and partners, for being part of 2025 with us. I'd invite you to subscribe to our newsletter if you're not already, and you can do that on our website at thevault@201.com. And we hope to connect with you on Facebook, The Vault at 201 North Broadway, and on Instagram. And our Instagram account is thevault_201. And then I'd love to connect with you, myself, on LinkedIn or through our social media accounts and our newsletter. And with that, that's all I have for you for 2025. We look forward to our season ahead of 2026, kicking it off with some strong community partners, entrepreneurs, small businesses that you'll be hearing from next week as we kick off the 2026 new year. So thank you all for listening. Thanks for listening to The Vault. Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway or Instagram at thevault_201. Or check us out on our website, thevault@201.com, where you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. See you next time.